All right, so I asked you guys to go to Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter. Twitter handles in the description box. And submit your questions for the weekly Q&A, and you did. So I'm going to try and get through all of them now. See how many I can get to. We're going to go ahead and get started, and you should smash the subscribe button if it's your first time ever checking this out. Junior from Tonga Fanboy. What are some ways you could improve college football, the NFL, and football in general? I think for college football, expanding the playoff would be a great place to start. College basketball, you have like 68 teams. You could have more than 4. Just saying. Just saying. That would be one thing I would do. In terms of improving the NFL, maybe an extra challenge to be available. Is what I'm trying to be careful of when I talk about the NFL is I don't want to be one of those guys that just talks about the past, how much better it was in the past, because it's not entirely true. It's not entirely false, but it's not entirely true either. Actually, now you know what? I would like to see a little loosening of the rules when it comes to roughing the passer and defensive pass interference. Mags the NFL nerd. Which sports movie based on a true story is overrated and which sports movie based on a true story is underrated? Sports movie based on a true story that is overrated. Maybe Rudy. Oh, God, I'm going to get the comments flaming. Just because there was a lot of artistic liberty taken there. Like, you probably had to in order to be able to tell the story, but Rudy in real life, Rudiger, he's kind of a tool. And, the story's cool and all, but a little overrated to me. Which sports movie based on a true story is underrated? Obviously, it's Space Jam. It's the greatest movie of all time. It's a true documentary about how Michael Jordan saved the universe from the basketball-playing aliens called the Monstars. They had Sean Bradley's powers. Sean Bradley! We were doomed! Dane the Funky Homo Sapien, what are your top 5 non-sports related movies? Shawshank Redemption's on the list. Rocky IV is on the list because he ended the Cold War when he beat Ivan Drago, and that's true. Office Space. There's 3. I'd have to think more about the other 2, but those are 3 that jump to mind. Geo Knows. What do you think of President Biden's performance at the G7 summit? Geo, bless your flat earthen heart. I got a question for you. You're Canadian. Why the fuck do you care about our senile-ass, old, dumbass presidents? Worry about Canada. Hate on Trudeau. Like, it really makes no sense how much you have a vested interest and stake in American politics when you're not American, you don't live in America, and frankly, I can tell a lot of times, you don't really have a fucking basic understanding of how things are here in the US of A. I'm assuming Biden was botchy and absent-minded. When you elect an almost 80-year-old man, what the fuck do you expect? That type of empty-headed idiot versus the previous pumpkin idiot fucking rambling on and saying all bullshit every 2 sentences. Here you come now with your moose knuckle in a bunch talking about, no! Who gives a shit? Worry about your own country. We got enough fucking problems here. Worry about your own. Especially because, like, some of the stances you take are just dumb, Gio. Really dumb. Peter Jedra, is the fact that YouTube activity is not your full-time job more of an advantage or disadvantage on why? On the one hand, it'd be great to make a living out of what you do, but that would probably introduce some sense of obligation. I think in some ways you can still feel like a sense of obligation if you're doing this kind of like a secondary thing or a side thing. I don't think it's an advantage or disadvantage. Like, it'd be nice to have a bigger audience. It'd be nice to have a bigger following. It'd be nice to make more money from YouTube. But I don't know if I'd ever feel comfortable getting to a point where it was like my primary gig. No, I don't think so. Too many things to worry about at that point. Joseph Moran, why do so many artists still have loyalty to Kanye through all the things he said? You'll have to ask them. I don't know. They probably know that Kanye's always been a little bit off. And once his mama died with that kind of low-rent district plastic surgery that she got, that he was never the same. So maybe there's a feeling of guilt. I don't know. Dollar Dollar Balls. Which NFL franchises are most likely to have a Cubs-style title drought? Well, you would certainly look at somebody like the fucking Detroit Lions and say they're a qualifier. The Arizona Cardinals, they're a qualifier. The Jets have been over 50 years. They're a fucking qualifier. Any of them could end up in that space. At TSB_Rick, will Brad Stevens be a better GM than Danny Ainge when all is said and done? I don't think so. I don't think so. In order for him to be better, he'd have to win more than one ring. I just don't see that happening. Mike Schmidt, 007. Which do you prefer between long-term stat accumulation versus short-term dominance in regard to getting into the Hall of Fame in the three major North American sports? It'd have to be on a player-by-player or player A versus player B basis to be able to compare and understand what you're talking about. Like if you use the NFL as an example and you said, would I rather have Gale Sayers or would I rather have Frank Gore? You know, there is a piece of that stat accumulation over such a lengthy period of time bodes well in that player's favor. But this player, even in a shorter time span, was just better and greater. I probably am still going to lead towards a preference of that, honestly. Adam Williams, do you think Patrick Mahomes should be in the same GOAT debate with Tom Brady? Tom Brady has been an NFL starting quarterback for 2 decades. He's played in 10 Super Bowls and won 7 of them, motherfuckers. Patrick Mahomes has been an NFL starting quarterback for 3 years, played in 2 Super Bowls, won 1. Hell no, he shouldn't be in that GOAT debate. He's got a long, long way to go before we start talking or thinking about that. Stephen Hilton, 92. What was your favorite player to evaluate for this year's 2021 draft class? Who is the one that you're most excited to see play? Probably Zach Wilson. I think he was my most exciting evaluation. Christian Mingle, do you watch a lot of tennis? No, not really. How about between Roger Federer, Djokovic, and Rafael Nadal, who is your favorite and who is the best? Favorite? Probably Nadal. Best? Federer, isn't it? Doesn't Federer have the most majors out of the 3? Probably him. MC17 Clark. What were your thoughts on back in 2004 when the Are You Ready for Some Football commercial skit with Terrell Owens and Nicolette Sheridan came out and all the backlash it received? You know, was that the one where she was in the towel and then she took the towel off and T.O. was looking at her? Like, they knew what they were fucking going for there. Like, I really had no opinion on it at the time. I really wasn't paying that much attention because I just tend not to overreact to a lot of these things that people seem to get so up in a bunch about. Master Havoc, your top 5 list of the greatest Chicago Cubs of all time. Ooh. Sammy Sosa, Ernie Banks, Ryan Sandberg. Top 5 greatest Cubs. Probably Ferguson Jenkins and Billy Williams, I guess, would be your top 5. Although if you want to include broadcasting career, then you have to throw Ron Santo in the top 5 and maybe take out Fergie. At Ncyple99, Jeff, explain to me why the media loves Doc Rivers. How did Ty Lue take the Clippers to the first conference finals in his first year, something that Doc didn't do in his first 7 years? Because Doc's a former media member, he's well-spoken. He talks about some of those more like liberal equality issues that are playing very well in NBA and sports media right now. So, of course, they're going to protect him. But he's absolutely a fucking choker, and he's proven it time after time after time. That's why they love him. That's why they love him. And if you're bringing up like a comparison to a Tyronn Lue gets the stigma of he was the coach for a team that LeBron technically coached to win an NBA championship. Dave G123_456. Would you rather have 10 good years of Bears football with multiple Super Bowls or 10 good years of wrestling like it was in the late 90s? The first one. I've already experienced an Attitude Era, a Hogan like international expansion era. If there's never another one of those boom periods in wrestling again, I'd be okay. versus the choice of the Bears having a long stretch of winning with multiple Super Bowls, that's like not even a question. Danny Luckenheimer. Name a quarterback prospect coming out of the draft that you like that didn't work out in the NFL. Also, name a quarterback prospect that you didn't like that turned out to be good. Trying to think of recent memory. I think my grade on Dak Prescott was a little ridiculous, a little low, because I hammered him a little bit for the DUI that he got before the draft. And let that cloud my better judgment. Somebody that I was high on that didn't work out so well. I guess you can go 2015 with Winston and Mariota. But I wasn't like so ragingly effusive in my praise. I don't think for either one of them, but I had first round grades on both of those guys, and they certainly did not live up to the hype and the billing. So I'd go with those. And there's certainly others throughout the years too, don't get me wrong. At my name of Pete, what's a fair asking price for Deshaun Watson if there are no legal troubles? If there are no legal troubles, 3 first-round picks, at least 1 second-round pick, and a third-round pick, and maybe a player. Yeah, because without any of those troubles, you're talking about a young quarterback, elite-level guy in his mid-20s with his best years of football ahead of him. That should still command a hell of a price on the open market. King Jordan, 8476. Thoughts on Ben Simmons? I just did a video talking about how Ben Simmons is a joke and Doc Rivers is still a choke on this channel, so make sure you check that out. I'll tell you all you need to know about how I think about that piece of crap, Ben Simmons. Master Havoc, what is one thing you miss about professional boxing? Actually knowing who the hell the premier fighters are. Boxing got into this really stupid place where they just water down their fucking product like everybody has a fucking title, everybody's a fucking champion, instead of there just being like one world champion at this weight class, one world champion at that weight class. So I really miss that about the sport. At WWE Do the Dab, if you were president, who in pop culture would be in your cabinet? For example, Snoop would be my Secretary of Agriculture. I'd make Dennis Rodman the ambassador to North Korea because why the fuck not? Right? I absolutely would. Cabinet, I don't fucking know. BPEF00, who do you see as the top NBA coach on the market, and which available NBA job do you think will be the most attractive to NBA coaching candidates? Who would be the top? Stotts got fired, didn't he? I think he'd be one of the more favorable coaches on the open market. D'Antoni, maybe if he decided he wanted to coach again as a head guy, but I don't think he does. Which NBA job will be the most attractive? I'd have to, honestly, I can't remember every single job that's available right now, so I'd have to go look. Marcus B. Thoughts on the state of the 2021 Las Vegas Raiders? John Gruden and Carr and the team around him. New defensive coordinator Gus Bradley. You never fully rebuilt your team because you never started over at quarterback. Everything that team does is stupid and a waste of fucking time. Next. At the King Moj. After a few interviews and comments from other players, how do you feel about the new defensive coordinators for the Bears, Sean Desai? I don't give a shit what the hell media or players say about him. I want to see the results in the fucking field. Let's not kid ourselves. He got that job in part because nobody really wanted to come to this situation. So he skipped a level in order to get there. It doesn't mean he can't handle it, but that's not exactly an automatic indication of great success coming up. At the Rio B. DeJesus, how many more years do you think Barry Sanders had left at the point he retired? Probably had 2 more real peak elite years, and if he wanted to right out the string, another 4 to 5 years. But definitely probably 2 more of real elite level play. Who is your favorite Bear that wasn't a Pro Bowler or considered a superstar? Favorite Bear that wasn't a Pro Bowler and wasn't considered a superstar. I know who. I actually do know who. He was a good, solid middle linebacker in the 90s for the Bears, Barry Minter. I liked Barry Minter a lot. You got the unfortunate duty of falling through the cracks because he played in between Singletary and Urlacher. What a fucking hell of a spot to be in. He never made a Pro Bowl, but he was a good, solid player. And he gets forgotten about a lot in Bears history because he played on a lot of crappy Bears teams in the 90s. At Fulia Georgian 1, what would you say if next year a new general manager and head coach comes and trades Khalil Mack for a Raiders-type package and builds around Justin Fields? Now we're fucking talking. Z Visions, thoughts on the Jaguars offense next season? You'll get my thoughts more on them when I do my team-by-team previews coming up in August and September. Josh Grantham 7, what are your thoughts on the Titans' changes defensively this offseason? 7 new starters definitely needed change. Change can be great, but change can also just be change. If you change out for more of the same, that doesn't necessarily mean that you improved. Again, time will tell as to whether or not there's going to be any payoff here. Alex Ibarra 798, thoughts on the Dallas Mavericks situation? If they really screw up the relationship with Luka Doncic, then Mark Cuban is truly a fucking clown. That's my thoughts. AJ Kyle, expectations for Cole Kmet coming into year 2. Could you shout out my Twitch channel at TheHypeMan54? I absolutely cannot shout out your Twitch channel at TheHypeMan54. I will not shout out your fucking Twitch channel at TheHypeMan54. All right? Expectations for him coming into year 2? Become like a Kyle Rudolph type of tight end. Like a top 10 type of guy at the position, but not top 5. At the dreaded Necco, I've seen some Bears fans express concern with Eddie Goldman skipping out of minicamp. What are your thoughts? Yeah, I don't really think it's a contract thing. Like, if he really doesn't want to play anymore, then just let the organization know so they can move the fuck on. Either come to camp or don't. If you don't, you want to retire, great. Good luck to you. God bless you. But go and let the team know now. It's Derek, I'm sorry. How far do you expect the White Sox to get this season? I would expect they make some noise in the playoffs until La Russa cost them. Mojo_Jojo1104. What's the worst injury you've ever had in your life? Worst injury? You're going to think I'm going to say something physical, and I'm absolutely totally not. Because I've had, pulled hamstrings and sprained ankles, jammed toes, jammed fingers, all that other stuff. Concussions, you name it. Never really any truly broken bones or anything that really required surgery. But the worst injury I've ever had was self-inflicted, and it was a loss of motivation. And you're going to say, what the fuck? Hey, look, I break a leg or I break an ankle, I can recover from that. Like, there's a period of time you do your rehab, you can be back good again. But if you do enough damage to yourself and put enough negative thoughts into your own environment and atmosphere and experience, and you shit talk yourself enough, that will cause far more damage and far more injury on a longer term harmful basis than anything else will. It's that defeatist mindset, that defeatist mentality that led to a lack of motivation, thinking that I couldn't do shit that I absolutely could have and should have. That's the biggest injury. Vincent Egakun. Favorite NFL player today? Favorite NFL player today? Do I have one? Goddamn, that is kind of sad. Ooh. I don't know if I have one. Holy shit. Wow. Herpy. Thoughts on the reemergence of the big man in the NBA? I mean, you got guys like Jokic and Embiid, but, they're a different type of big man, but I wouldn't exactly, and maybe DeAndre Ayton, but I wouldn't exactly say they're exactly killing and dominating in a preeminent part of the league. Like, it's good to see some form of center in some way mattering. I would agree with that. It's just different. Sash Daddy 2, are you on board with the Bears move to Arlington Heights? Yes, why not? At Sales Savant, which of your team's draft picks did you get the most pissed about when it happened? 1998, Curtis Penis instead of Randy Moss. 1999, Cade McSuckass. Like, some of you might think it's Trubisky or Rex Grossman. No, as much as those pissed me off, back-to-back years, 98, 99 are the absolute fucking dog shit worst. At Dollar Balls, do you have any advice for people who are struggling with mental illness? Go get help. Don't be so fucking proud that you can't ask for help. And then you've got to work at it. Like, you can get all the help you want, but if you're not willing to put forth the effort, if you're not willing to battle, then it's not going to be for any good. You have to be willing to fight through it. You have to try. to stop making fucking excuses, not feel sorry for yourself, get some help, and then work. Take those recommendations, implement that feedback, implement whatever treatment that you've been given, and really attack it. Doesn't mean it solves everything. Like, a lot of people have some form of mental offness. Most all of us do. There's two types of people. Those that acknowledge it and those that don't, but they all fucking got it of some kind. It's about what you do with it. Just most importantly of all, don't use it as a crutch and excuse. Because I really hate when you see those people, and you know what I'm fucking talking about, that'll sit there and be like, oh my God, this is so triggering to my anxiety. Listen, dude. Listen, bitch, whoever it is. Everything in the world can't fucking trigger your anxiety. At some point in time, that can't be an excuse or a crutch anymore. No, period. No excuses, no bullshit. If it bothers you that much, either find a way to avoid those triggering situations or figure out a way to better adapt, cope, and deal with them and address them and confront them and handle them bitches. You got anything else? No, we don't. All right, I don't see any other questions. If I missed anybody else's questions, I do apologize. Thank you, everybody, for submitting your questions for this Q&A. We'll do it again probably next week. Until then, I'm out.